Hello and welcome to the Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson. The Local Leaders Podcast provides a platform for successful business owners to share their stories, their experiences, their advice, and their ideas in order to help our listeners achieve more success in their business and in their lives. Get ready, another great show is coming up. Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson, and we want to welcome all of our listeners to the show. And I want to introduce our guest for today, and we're really thrilled to have Tracy on today. But it's Tracy Beier, and she's the owner of Monster Cookies and More in Waterloo, Iowa. Welcome to the podcast.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Oh, good morning, and thank you for being here. We really appreciate it and look forward to kind of sharing your story and getting it out there, and hopefully help some of our listeners who may be in a similar situation with their business that you're in and are looking to do better, to be more successful, and maybe even to grow. So, with that said, I'll just hand it off to you, Tracy, and just ask you to tell us a little about Monster Cookies.
All right. Well, to kind of start it off, I have loved to bake ever since I was a little girl. And when I started this, it was really just going to be kind of a side thing, a little extra thing on the side. I was working at the school system as a paraeducator at the time. And every job, every family gathering that I've ever gone to, always bring cookies, and everybody loved my Monster cookies, and they were like, oh my gosh, everybody wants you to bring them. And I had a friend that just kept saying, Tracy, if you would just sell these cookies, you would just be a millionaire, and I'm just like, I just don't know. So then just after a while I was like, you know what, I think we'll just try and do something here. So I kind of looked into some things and started selling at this local grocery store that I used to work at, that my friend managed. And, it was going pretty good. And the first year of my business, I worked at the schools as well. So I worked Monday through Friday. I would come home Friday night. I would set up my kitchen. And so my business is out of my home. I do not have a storefront. So I started in my personal home kitchen and got it inspected and all of that kind of stuff. And so I would come home on Friday night, I would set up my kitchen, get everything ready. And, sometimes I would bake until 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I would go to bed, get up at 9 o'clock, do deliveries, come home, start baking again, and then deliver at night. And I would do this every weekend. And I did this for almost a year, my first year of the business. And all of the money that I made, I put right back into the business. And after a year, I took a leave of absence, a 1-year leave of absence from my job to see if I could kick this off all by myself. And after that first year, I was making as much as I was at the schools, and starting to get things going, got some more retail businesses, and started getting a following, people placing orders and picking things up, and a lot of freedom with my time. It's exciting to be your own boss sometimes and have your own schedule. And, I have kids still and sports and all of those kinds of things. So, if I have to bake in the middle of the night, I can bake in the middle of the night. If I have to bake during the day, I can bake during the day, and I can, rearrange my schedule however I want to do it to get things done. So uniquely, sometimes people didn't quite understand that I was out of my home. So they would, want to come and pick things up, and we would set up a time and all of that kind of stuff. So that was probably one of the bigger challenges at the beginning anyway.
Yeah, I can see that because people, you probably saw some hesitancy at times on their face when,
Yeah.
no, you can't come.
Yeah. Yep. And throughout the years, trust me, I've had people knock on my door
Oh my God.
looking for things. And so, which is fine, but it's just funny to me, sometimes. So, but Monster Cookies and More. So Monster Cookies was my specialty, and it is my top seller tenfold. But the More incorporates anything that I want to, anything that I want to do, anything that I want to add, anything that I want to have on the side, which has worked out great. So I do breads. I have a line of breads, and then I also have a line of protein products. So I do protein balls and protein bars, and I'm kind of a gym nut. So all of those things kind of go with that part of my life, and it works out really good. And so, yeah.
That's really cool. I see. And for those of you who are listening, if you didn't see it come across the screen earlier, if you're listening and starting to get hungry, jump on Monster Cookies and andmore.com. And you can check out the website and see some of these fabulous creations. Let's see, I see cinnamon bread. Oh man, gluten-free coffee shop. Looks amazing.
Yeah, I'll have to ship some of those cookies to you.
That would be really cool. Then I can hold them up and flash them around to everybody and show you. That would be wonderful. But yeah, you got a whole line of different things that you do. So I'm sure. So wait a minute, let me backtrack first. How you took your leave of absence for a year to get the business going. Did you ever go back?
No, I didn't.
I didn't
After the
so.
first year, I was doing good, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna jump in feet first. And I just totally jumped into it. I had to backtrack a little bit. I hooked up with UNI Small Business here in Cedar Falls, and they were absolutely wonderful. They helped me with questions that I had and different things getting started. I had to backtrack a little on some things that I didn't know I should have done at the beginning, and got all that stuff figured out. And but they were a wonderful resource for this area. So any entrepreneurs or people starting business, and I'm sure that they have that type of a program all over. But they were great for me, to get things started. I had a wonderful advisor, and she was fantastic. Even after she left the business, I continued to work with her because she was just a wealth of knowledge for me. So
yeah, that's one of the things I used to ask a lot about. And I would term it more like, did you have mentors and people that helped you along the way? But that's exactly what this is. And is UNI, is it like an incubator for small business? Or? Sorry,
University of Northern Iowa.
Okay.
It's the college. Yep.
Gotcha. That's okay. I just wanted to clarify because I'm all the way across the country over in North Carolina, and I miss some of the school acronyms at times. But there are incubators. There's there's a ton of different resources out there for small businesses. All the way from the small business
administration.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Small Business Administration, SBA.gov, I think it is. And then there's SCORE, SCORE, which is, can be helpful. So a lot of free resources that you can access as a small business owner. And kudos to you for doing that. And I'm sure that it helps you along your journey, to get this thing rolling, because you only had a year to get it profitable enough to support yourself and replace that income you were making. And how long has it been now that you've been really full-time into Monster Cookies?
So I just finished up my 7th year this summer. So when I started in my home kitchen, that only lasted like a couple of months, and we had to start construction on the basement. So I have a full commercial kitchen in my basement, with storage and my office is down here, and all of that. So yeah, the kitchen upstairs did not last very long at all. So
yeah, it made for some hard work trying to crank out a bunch of orders with one regular oven in the kitchen, right?
Yes, yes. Now I have 2 side-by-side convection ovens and bakery racks and lots of space and a 3-compartment sink, and everything is wonderful. So
yeah, makes a big difference when you have the tools in place.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So that was only 7 months in. So let me ask you this for all our other small business owners out there. You had to do a full commercial kitchen build out that had to cost a little bit of money. How were you able to finance that? And I know I didn't ask you this ahead of time. I'm just curious, did you have funds, or did you have to go and seek funding? And if so, how did that go?
We just took out a home equity loan to take care of the business part, and then I just, repaid it with business money to take care of it. So
yeah,
it worked out okay.
Well, that was simple and easy, and creates a write-off for you as well on your
Absolutely.
Hey, just curious, are you did you set the business up as a LLC, or are you just sole proprietorship?
Sole proprietor, yep.
Okay, gotcha. So all those earnings and things from the business just flow through to your 1040, and I guess you do a Schedule C at the end of the year.
Yes. Yep. And I get all my paperwork together, and I have everything told. I do all of that stuff myself. I do payroll myself. I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm a small business owner as well, and you have to kind of do everything until you get big enough. You have to really suffer through the growing pains until you get big enough to afford to get some help, and even then it hurts.
Yes, yeah, because then you don't want to shell out all that money.
Yeah.
But after a while, it's kind of worth it.
Yeah, so you have to kind of look at it as an investment. Is that
Yes.
If I invest this money in other things or other people or technology or whatever today, it's going to pay off, tomorrow. And that's the mentality, because otherwise you're going to constrain your growth. If you continue to try to do it yourself, you just can't do but so much, right?
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
Have you had to bring in anyone in the kitchen yet, or are you still handling all the baking? And
I do all of the baking. The only thing that I don't do now as much is the protein balls. I do have people that help me with those, but I do have a helper here all of the time, helping with dishes and cleanup and just taking care of things, just so that I can keep moving.
yeah.
And baking, nonstop without having to shut the ovens off and do all of that kind of stuff.
Got it. So. Yeah, that's a big help, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it's huge. I couldn't do it without them.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we talked earlier about some of the challenges that are facing the food service industry today, and staffing is a big one. That may not be one for you, but what about the other two, the shortages and the food pricing or ingredient pricing in your case? How has that been affecting your business?
The shortages have affected me the most. There has been some price increases on some of my products that I use, but the shortages were just crazy. I mean, like, you would go and it would just be random things. You would go to the store to stock up on your usual list, and like the shelf would be empty for weeks on this one particular product, and then I'd have to be searching around town for whatever I could scramble to get for the things that I need. I tried doing some online shopping and trying to find different resources to get things as far as that goes. So that was probably the most frustrating part for me.
I would imagine in the baking business, I'm assuming you have recipes built out with all your ingredients for everything that you're making. So yep. if you have to change up an ingredient, does that change the recipe? Does it change the taste?
Not too often. And it's not too often that I would have to change an ingredient that would alter the taste very drastically, by any means, but just those rare occasions where I would have to use a different brand or something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was just curious if if it would, come all the way down to the taste, but I guess the impact then that you probably have is your price control, because you're planning on your cost of that ingredient being,
So right,
$3 or $10 or whatever, and then you have to run around town or online and get it, and now it's $20.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I could see how that would be hurtful. Did you make an adjustment in your pricing, or have you made an adjustment in pricing?
On a couple of things, I've raised a few prices here and there on a few items, but nothing too drastically.
And is there any other things you can do to make up that loss of profit? Is there any other ways to reduce costs in your particular business that you found didn't hurt too bad, but helped the bottom line?
For me, I mean, when I was having to search for different things, I was able to find different places that were offering things cheaper. So then that kind of balanced out some of the higher prices that I was having to pay.
Gotcha.
And then finding a new resource to have that kind of stuff, available to me. And so that did help a lot, finding new sources, even though I was kind of pushed into finding them, but it balanced out in the end.
Do you find yourself buying larger or more in bulk than you did before?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. You're stocking up. When you find something, you're like, give it all to me.
Yep. Sometimes I'm the one going and wiping out the shelves because I want to make sure that I don't run out again.
Yeah, which is then you got money tied up in inventory. So you can take that, but so far, and then you got to get to baking and get to selling. So let's talk about that for a minute. Kind of the how you built your customer base. And again, there's another question I didn't throw out there earlier to you to prepare for, but I'm just curious how you built it up over the years to become successful.
I just had a lot of people that were very true to me from the very beginning, and they word of mouth advertising is the absolute best advertising there is out there. At it, all other advertising, word of mouth is the best, and the people that were very faithful to me did a good job with that. So I was able to get a good following as far as people placing orders. When I started in the retail business, honestly, I would just take like a whole bag of samples, a little bit of everything that I did, and I would just march into stores and just ask to speak to a manager and just show them what I got and say, hey, would you be interested in selling my products here? And so that's how I did it at the beginning, and that's how I still do it. And I'm finally at the point after 7 years where I've actually had people contact me and say, hey, I think we'd like to have some of your stuff in our store, or somebody told me about this and I think we'd like to try it out, or can you come show me what you have? And so that's really exciting for me to not have to do that anymore, and people are coming to me. So.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I had seen that on your website, and I was going to ask you about it. So on the website itself, you got like 14 different businesses locally that are reselling your product.
Yes.
And that's awesome. So is it set up so that like you go by there once a week and refill them, or once every day, or how does the distribution kind of piece work?
Depending on how big that retailer is, several of them I do on a weekly basis. So I will like make their order, deliver it to them that same day, like at the end of the day or the very next morning. And all of my product is freezable. So they keep it frozen, and then they pull it out and date it and sell it in store on their end. Some businesses are every other week, and it just depends on how they're doing them, but a good majority of them are weekly.
Yeah. And are those some of the deliveries you were talking about this morning?
Yep. I had to deliver one this morning. So
yeah, that's well, but it's good because I'm assuming that business from many of those resellers are fairly regular income, for you that you
Yes.
can count on. So that's a big part, because your business is, you could have volume spikes up and down, and it makes it difficult when the revenues is like that.
Yes, it
To
does.
really plan. So this distribution model kind of gives you a little bit of a more level sense of what you got coming in each day or each month. Are you selling to them at like a wholesale price, and then they're retailing it, or how does
Yep.
that work?
Yep. I just have a base price, and they can charge whatever they want. So whatever they think they can get out of it, then that's what they put on it. So.
Yeah. Cool. Very good for you. Let's see. We talked about kind of how you got in here and got everything started with Monster Cookies and more. We talked about some of the challenges that you're facing, and that really all restaurant and food service businesses are facing. With prices and shortages. Marketing side, or selling side, we kind of talked about your distribution model. Marketing wise, are you doing anything outside of social media to find customers?
I advertise on the radio, so I do have a weekly radio ad, and I'm like the birthday sponsor for one of our local radio stations. So I've been doing that for almost from the beginning. Like it was probably about a year in, so I've been with them for at least 6 years, and that's been successful. And I do some other things with them randomly throughout the year for different events and that kind of stuff. So that's a good outlet as far as that goes. And I've done some random advertising in the paper and just different types of things, trying to see what works the best for me. Not all advertising outlets for my business work quite the same as what they would for others. So, I've taken a hit on a lot of advertising costs here and there, trying to find the right thing. But
haven't we all?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are hard lessons, and you just have to learn to. At some point, you get hardened and are able to say no when people come calling.
That took me a long time. Because I'm a yes girl. So that was probably one of the hardest challenges for me, is to say no to anything, to donations, to advertising, to the list goes on and on and on. And I've gotten a little bit better at it. So
yeah, and to customers as well.
Yeah.
So sometimes business owners want to be all things to all people, and you end up creating more work for yourself than you're able to recover from a price standpoint. So you kind of learn with experience there too, as to things that you don't want to do. But
Yes.
it's still hard. It's still hard to say no, because it's like, oh, new business. Oh, but look what I'd have to do.
Yes.
So that's a challenge for everybody. But I encourage all our listeners, especially the newer entrepreneurs, to really be careful about what business you do take, because if it's if it creates a great opportunity for future business, then maybe it's worthwhile. But if it's a one-off and it's a lot of work, and it's not part of what you do, then avoid it. Get away, run.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good advice. Good advice, and thank you for kind of sharing that, because again, I didn't really prep you on the marketing side. I was just curious as to the best way to grow. And speaking of that, I believe I remember an online. Do you have online shopping? Yeah, I see a basket.
Yeah.
How's that part of your business doing?
It does okay. I would say it's the very minimal part of my business. People do it more for convenience, I think. But the majority of my pickup calls and deliveries, people just call me. I mean, they call me or they text me, or they, see me in the grocery store, and they're like, hey, can I get a dozen Monster Cookies tomorrow? And yep. And that's how I do it. So people just, however they get a hold of me, they get a hold of me. I'll wake up to orders in the morning when I wake up. So
I was going to say, so when you need to sell something, you just go roaming the streets and go to the grocery store and go to the gym and get any coffee shop, anywhere you can go. People are, hey, I got a birthday coming up. How about one of those big super ones?
Yes.
Supersize.
Yes. And I have, so I have a shirt. Everybody knows me as the cookie lady. That's what everybody calls me, as the cookie lady. And so I have a shirt that I wear sometimes, and it says on the back, it says, "You might know me as the cookie lady."
Oh,
And
that's cool.
yeah, so it's pretty cute. And
Good,
but yeah.
Good advertising. And is your business there in Waterloo? Is that where you grew up?
Yes, all my life.
Yeah, so you know some people.
Yep, I know a lot of people.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't hurt. And online, the online business is out there. But it's I think something for anybody in a business like yours. You got to really decide that you want to work that avenue to try to grow outside your local area. And if you can freeze this product and ship it frozen, and you got to kind of, have you dug into the shipping costs and all that kind of stuff to figure out if this is something you'd want to do?
I do ship. I ship to people who place orders. I've shipped all over, the United States for different people, that'll place an order. They just pay the shipping. So,
Hey, well,
yeah, like I said, it's a minimal part of my business right now. That's just not, I think online business is absolutely wonderful, and it would be great for certain businesses. For me, I'm kind of technology challenged, so it's kind of on the lower end of my spectrum. I would like to be more personable with people and just be out there, everybody knowing me. So
you like the face-to-face interaction.
Yes.
With your customers, and that online market is totally different. But hopefully with our podcast, we'll pick up some listeners to hear that's maybe all across the U.S. And I encourage those that are not in Waterloo, Iowa, to check out her website, which we'll put up on the screen again here toward the end, and order something. Get you some monster cookies and try them out, and tell all your friends on social media. And who knows, you might get a boost in that online business, and you'll be calling me back before long saying, "What have you done? What have you done?" I don't get to see anybody. I'm working like crazy and just ship. But that would be nice to share your wonderful food items, wonderful cookies and everything else, protein bars and all that, with other people who don't normally have the opportunity to work with you and to have that experience. So I hope it continues to go well for you. And as we kind of get toward closing up on this particular podcast, I'd love to ask if you have any advice for some of our newer entrepreneurs, or maybe just getting started, whether it be maybe it's specific toward bakers or any other business. I'd love to get a couple of pearls of wisdom from you.
I think any business is pretty much going to be straight across the board when it comes to certain things. And if you love what you do, people know it. Like they can tell. And I still get excited today when somebody has my cookie for the first time. I've been doing this for some years now, so it's still exciting for me, and it shows. It shows when you love what you do.
I think that's a great point, and trying to figure out what it is that you love is really the hard part sometimes.
Yes, it is.
Or taking the things that you love and figuring out how to make a business out of it.
Yeah, because I love cookies.
Who doesn't? I'm gonna send you a T-shirt with a Cookie Monster on the front. I'm sure you've seen one or had one.
I love Cookie Monster. He's my little. I have a little Cookie Monster that rides in my van with me and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that is terrific. Well, thank you so much, Tracy, for for joining us today on this podcast. And I know time kind of flies when we're talking about your business, but again, for all our listeners, it's Tracy Beier, and her business is Monster Cookies and More out of Waterloo, Iowa. Again, the website will be on the screen, so please go check her out online if you're not nearby. And if you are nearby and haven't placed an order lately, shame on you, get an order in.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for taking time to come on the show and share your experience and a lot really about your business and the things that you've gone through to get where you are today. And congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
You are welcome. And for all our listeners, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you.